Assalamu alaikum dear students. As you know, I'm your course instructor Tuba Asif from the University of South Asia. Today we are going to discuss another interesting topic from the course of Fundamentals of Human Nutrition. I would like to discuss a few content that we have done before, and that was about what are the major and macro and micronutrients, what are the importance of these nutrients, and how we can lead a well-balanced life by consuming a well-balanced diet. But today's topic is about the food population groups that are vulnerable, that are termed as food vulnerable population groups. So after this lecture, you will be able to become familiar with the food population vulnerable groups. You will be able to identify the assessment of physical growth by nutritional needs, to get acknowledged about dietary requirements of these groups, and you will be able to understand the nutrition related problems that affect these groups. So now let me tell you about what is vulnerability. It basically refers to a reduced physical reserve that limits recovery in the event of an acute health threat, as well as limited resilience and other predisposed factors arising from a reduced dietary intake. Vulnerability in nutrition means that you are at the risk of nutrition. So basically, what are vulnerable groups? Vulnerable groups are those who cannot meet their nutritional needs all by themselves. We basically include 5 to 6 groups in these vulnerable food groups, that are infants, childhood and adolescents, pregnant women and lactating women, and elderly are also included in this vulnerable group. So now let me tell you that why optimum nutrition is important. As we all know that for the daily use of life, our body needs fuel. Our body fulfill its requirement of fuel by the nutrient intake we eat. If we eat a well-balanced diet, we can lead a well-balanced life. So nutrition is very important to giving our body energy. It also required for the maintenance of the food functions. It is also very important for the normal growth and development of our body. It has so many therapeutic benefits, and it has healing properties as well. Now let's discuss about infants. As we know, an infant from Latin word infants mean unable to speak or speechless. Infancy is defined as the first year of life and is the period of missed rapid growth after birth. During infancy, baby doubles in length and triples in weight. Another words for infancy are early childhood and babyhood, etc. Now let me tell you about the nutritional needs of an infant. As we know, the caloric requirement depends on activity level and growth rate. Newborn needs more protein per unit of weight than adults for the formation of new cells. Kidneys are fully recovered concentrating urine, so newborn cannot conserve body water easily, supplied completely by breastfeeding or formula feeding. Calcium needs for bone growth are also an essential part for the diet of an infant. As we know, babies needs iron for normal development of their brain. When baby don't get enough iron, red blood cells become pale and small. This condition leads to anemia. Fluoride is very essential for teeth, and teeth growing are the primary process in infancy. Now certain vitamins and minerals that naturally found in breast milk are also very essential for the normal growth and development of an infant. Need exposed to sunlight for vitamin D, and mother can take about 400 units daily. Now what are the nutritional requirements during infancy? As we know about birth from 6 months, exclusive breastfeeding as child wants, it is about 8 times per day. Energy requirement up to 120 kilocalories per kilogram per day. Both breast milk and formula provided 67 kilocalories per 100 ml. The protein requirements for an infant ranges about 2 to 2.5 grams per kilogram per day. Now, carbohydrate is the about 50% of total calorie intake. Amylose enzyme, which digests starch, is low during the first to 4 to 6 months in infancy. Major source of carbohydrate is lactose, which increase absorption of calcium and magnesium. Lipids play a very important role in absorption of fat-soluble vitamins and a source of essential fatty acids. Milk provide essential fatty acids and long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids. Infant's formula containing about only 2% of total essential fatty acids. Now, vitamin K is routinely administered 0.5 to 1 milligram to protect them against hemorrhagic diseases. Vitamin A requirement is about 400 milligrams. Vitamin A supplementations reduces the child mortality and morbidity and has no side effect of vitamin A supplements. Vitamin C content is usually less required as adults. They need about 40 milligrams of vitamin C per day. Fluoride is required for the normal growth of teeth, and they can get this fluoride from the breast milk and from the fortified water. Water requirements ranges about 1.5 milliliter per kilocalories. Breast milk supplies sufficient water and no need for extra water intake. For the age of 7 to 12 months, breastfeed your child as the child wants. Give adequate servings of thick porridge made up of rice, potato, milk with starch, and you can add sugar as well. You can add the sesame oil after 8 months. A mixture of mashed foods, rice or potato with green vegetables, beans, chicken, red meat, and finally fish can also be given. Give about 3 meals per day if the child is breastfed, and give about 5 meals per day if the infant is not breastfed. Give nutritious snacks between meals like egg, bananas, and bread after 8 months. Now let's discuss about childhood. The age of a child ranging from 1 to 2 years comes under childhood. Breastfeed your child as often as the child wants. Give adequate servings of family food, mixture of mashed food of rice, potato, cereals, white meat, beans, and add sugar and oil or mixed with milk. You are supposed to give about 3 meals per day and 2 snacks per day to a child about 2 years old. And for the age of 2 years, you are supposed to give the family foods 3 meals per day with additional 2 nutritious snacks, and you must encourage your child to eat. Now let me tell you about some of the common nutritional problems that are related among children. Obesity results when you take excess calories than you require. Your body is always spending energy, and that energy comes from food. If you are gaining weight, that means the balance between energy expenditure and energy intake is not good. If you are eating more calories, if you are eating more diet as you are required, it leads in obesity. And obesity can further lead to many other chronic diseases. Then comes the dental caries. If the food contains many sugary substances and it contains refined sugars, the children must have developed dental caries. And somehow, if the diet is not optimum or lacks in the heme meat, that is meat, fish, poultry, organ meats, the deficiency of iron can be prevailed in your child, and that can result in iron deficiency anemia. And in some children, the phenomena of hyperactivity is also seen due to the lack of regular meals and because they are eating too sugary foods or the foods that contain endorphins, and that can lead to hyperactivity. Okay, now infancy and childhood, there comes the adolescence. Adolescence is the phase where the child is growing physically as well as mentally and emotionally. It is the period between the onset of puberty and adulthood, that is about 10 to 20 years of age. Puberty is an intensely anabolic period. Adolescence period is characterized by biological growth and development as undefined status, increased decision making, and increased pressure. Why adolescents are nutritionally vulnerable? Now, as we know that because of physical and psychological changes that are caused by certain hormones that are raging in this age group, adolescents are nutritionally vulnerable. Their body physically changes. In female, we can say the change in body shape and height, breast development, and start of menstruation, the body requirements of energy varies. Simultaneously, in males, the change in body shape, height, voice changes, and the growth of testes and facial hairs. Psychological changes, emergence of abstract thinking, the growing ability of absorbing the viewpoints of others, etc. So we can say that this age group is very vulnerable. Now let me tell you about the nutritional needs during adolescence. As we know, adolescence is a period of heightened thinking, heightened decision making, heightened emotionality, and there is a lot of social pressure. The caloric requirements are changed. The energy and caloric needs are based on the body composition, age, and the physical activity factor. Males usually have higher kilocalorie requirement due to increased muscle mass, and the foods that are needed in adolescence include usually whole grains, fruits and vegetables, whole of meat and poultry, legumes and lentils, beans and pulses, and plenty of water to be hydrated. Now let's discuss about the nutritional requirements of adolescents. Iron is needed to red blood cells which carry oxygen in our blood, and hemoglobin plays a significant role in this phenomenon. If the person is not taking adequate iron, it can lead to a loss of hemoglobin, and thus your body cells and tissues are not carried the actual oxygen they required, and that can lead to iron deficiency anemia in adults. Protein is also very necessary in this phase of life because, as we know, protein is required for the normal growth, maintenance, and repair of muscles. It is also very important for the production of certain enzymes and hormones. Protein deficiency can lead to stunted height and weight. Carbohydrates plays a significant role in providing fuel to your body so that your brain and your body can function normally. Vitamins and minerals help to boost immunity. They are also very important for healthy skin and eyes. Calcium helps to build bones and teeth and to maintain the regulatory functions. The certain fluids are necessary to remain hydrated and to prevent constipation. So, the water intake must be optimum. So far we have discussed the 4 population vulnerable groups that were infancy, childhood, and adolescence. Now let's discuss about pregnant women. The pregnancy is the term used to describe the period in which a fetus develops inside a woman's womb or uterus. Pregnancy usually lasts about 40 weeks. Now, the pregnant woman energy requirements greatly varied from the requirements of the normal human beings. Because when a woman is pregnant, her food needs to be richer in optimum nutrients and energy. During pregnancy, a woman needs additional 300 kilocalories per day. She requires almost 70 to 100 gram of protein daily, and she also needs up to 4 times more iron. A pregnant lady requires 1.5 times more folate to avoid any neural defects in the fetus, and she requires about 20% more calcium for the development of bone and teeth of the fetus. Moreover, she also needs rest and physical exercise. Physiological, biochemical, and hormonal changes occur during pregnancy that can affect the need of various nutrients like increased blood volume, and the volume of blood increases about 50%, decreased hemoglobin, decreased serum albumin, and water-soluble vitamins. She can suffer from increased fat-soluble vitamins, cholesterol, phospholipids, and free fatty acids. Now there is increased cardiac output and pulse rate. There is increased maternal oxygen requirement and decreased threshold for carbon dioxide. Nausea, vomiting, change of appetite and heartburn can also occur. Decreased gastrointestinal motility is also seen in pregnant women. Decrease in secretion of hydrochloric acid in stomach, which also aids in the absorption of iron and calcium. A pregnant woman secretes over 30 hormones that help to control all physiological changes involved in pregnancy. Now let me tell you about what and how much to eat in pregnancy. A pregnant woman should eat a variety of wholesome foods which provides everything to her body. She needs to take whole grains, beans, pulses, lentils, peas, chickpeas, cheese and the dairy products as well. She continued to eat normally in first trimester. Then she has to increase her calories daily about 350, and in the second trimester and she should increase her daily calories about 450 in the third trimester as her baby grows. A pregnant lady must avoid eating processed meat and junk food. She should take a whole lot of fresh fruits and vegetables and lean proteins such as chicken, fish, lentils, etc. Dietary requirements of protein women include grains, beans, pulses, peas, chickpeas, cereals. A diet should be well balanced, should be optimum for the health, should not contain saturated fat. It must include monounsaturated fatty acids and polyunsaturated fatty acids. A pregnant lady must include antioxidants in her diet, which she can always take from the fruits and vegetables. And she must avoid taking cigarette and alcohol. Let's discuss about the protein requirements of a pregnant lady. Protein is very important for the normal functioning and proper growth of a baby's tissues and organs, including the brain of the fetus. It can also help with the breast and uterine tissue growth in pregnancy. Protein plays a role in increasing blood supply and allowing more blood to be sent to baby, and the deficiency of protein can result in decreased placental and fetal growth. That could be very hazardous. The requirements of fat are very important and they must be met, the dietary requirements of a pregnant lady, because fat support baby's brain and the eye development. Fat is also very important and it helps the placenta and other tissues to grow. Lipids help to prevent preterm birth and low birth weight. A deficiency of fat can lead to maternal pancreatitis and fetal death as well. Now the requirements of calcium are also increased in pregnant ladies. Calcium helps the body to build bones and teeth. It is also very important to keep the maternal blood and muscles moving, and it helps the nerves to send messages from brain to the rest of the body. Oral swallowable calcium tablets as supplements should be taken twice a day starting from 14th week of pregnancy up to 6 months of pregnancy. Calcium deficiency can cause high blood pressure and it also affect the fetal growth. Calcium deficiency can also cause osteoporosis and later on osteoarthritis in ladies. Now let's discuss about the vitamin B9 foods. Folate and folic acid is very important in the early development and it must be taken in diet to avoid any kind of neural defects. During early development, folic acid, that is vitamin B9, is much required for the normal functioning of neural tube. It reduces the risk of neural tube defects and these defects affect baby's brain and spinal cord. The recommended dietary allowance for vitamin B9 for pregnant women is about 600 to 800 mcg per day. Now let's discuss about iron-rich foods and the importance of iron. Iron is usually working with sodium and potassium and water to increase blood flow. Pregnant ladies need double iron than normal. This iron is used to make up more blood to supply oxygen to the baby. In pregnancy, deficiency of iron increases the risk of having low birth weight baby and premature deliveries. Now let me tell you about the lactating mothers that also fall in the food vulnerable population groups. Lactation is basically the secretion of milk from the mammary glands and the period of time that a mother lactates to feed her young ones. The process naturally occurs with all post-pregnancy female mammals, although it predates mammals. It takes place in two stages. Stage 1, that is the secretory initiation. Stage 2, that is the secretory activation. Milk production begins around the midpoint of the pregnancy. For most mothers, milk will come in between 2 days and 5th day. Nutritional needs during lactating mothers. So the requirement of vitamin A is increased during lactation. As we know, the breast milk is rich in vitamin A. So a lactating mother needs adequate amount of vitamin A in her diet, and it ranges about 950 grams per day. Average amount of vitamin A secreted in mother's milk is about 350 grams per day, and it is usually in the form of retinol. Vitamin B6, 25 milligrams per day, its requirement increases during lactation. So, a lactating mother must include the food sources that are enriched with vitamin A and B6 in her diet. Vitamin B12, that is cobalamin, is also very important, and it is required to meet the need of the lactation. Folic acid is about 150 grams per day, and additional folic acid intake will meet the lactation. Vitamin C is appreciable amount and it is secreted in breast milk. It is required for about 25 milligrams per day. Additional intake will meet the need of lactation. Dietary requirement of lactation. A breastfeeding mother needs about 550 extra calories. She needs to eat and drink almost 2 hours every 2 hours. The diet must include more whole foods like cereals, pulses, and green vegetables. Seasonal fruits and other vegetables must also be included in her diet. Good quality protein like eggs, meat, poultry, paneer, and buttermilk is also very essential. Ghee and panjiri are also recommended for meeting the caloric requirement, and she must take gallons of water to remain hydrated. Now let's discuss about the final and the last food population vulnerable group, that is elderly people. Now let me tell you about what is aging. Aging is a complex, biological, irreversible process. The process of aging begins with cessation of growth and development and changes that occur in body composition, organ functions, and physical performance. There are estimated 605 million elder people and nearly 400 million of whom live in low-income countries. Older people currently represent around 20% of the total population, and the proportion is expected to increase 29% by 2025. Now, elderly are included in the food vulnerable groups. Why they are called the food vulnerable group? Because their physical security of health is usually at risk. Elderly people especially vulnerable, and their nutrition is at the edge of vulnerability. And there are problems due to age-related changes in their bodies. They are included in this group because some of the problems an elder person might experience which could impact their nutritional health with age are the problems of procuring and preparing foods, their digestive problems, their malabsorption, and their gastrointestinal disorders. Memory loss, including forgetting to eat, and it can also result in the decrease in the total body water. There is a decrease in their basal metabolic rate and their body mass is usually declined. So, for the elderly people, there must be a healthy plate that includes the optimum portion of whole grains, cereals, beans, pulses, lean meat, and a whole lot of water. Now, let's discuss about the special needs for elderly people. Elders are at particular risk and they require special attention to survive due to their vulnerability to physiological and psychological issues. Providing appropriate health and rehabilitation services, establishing systems for follow-up care, and they must not be socially isolated, and their ability to meet activities of daily living must be encouraged. They have to avoid dehydration by regularly consuming water, especially in the warm climate. They need at least 2 and if possible more meals each day, as they may not eat much from each meal. They must practice physical exercise and they must lead on towards a healthy lifestyle. Now let's discuss about the nutritional requirements of elderly. A progressive decline in lean body mass along with depressed physical activity causes a reduction of energy needs in aged as compared to younger individuals. It is necessary to maintain nitrogen balance in elderly people, so need of protein is more in aged people. Now, daily consumption of about 15 to 25 grams of fat to ensure a source of essential fatty acid and carrier of fat-soluble vitamins must be included in their diet. And there is no recommended dietary allowance for carbohydrate, but not less than 50 to 100 grams of carbohydrate per day of total caloric intake with inclusion of more complex carbohydrate and less refined sugars. Dietary fiber serves as an important function in intestinal tract by promoting the elimination of waste products. Moderate intake of dietary fiber, that is about 20 to 35 grams per day from fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and not rely on laxatives. The micronutrients must be taken in elderly and the need for vitamin D is usually higher because of the reduction capacity of the skin to produce. The 7-dehydroxycholesterol to convert in active form is present in the skin and it needs appropriate vitamin D to be converted into the active form. With aging, osteoporosis is advisable to take about 1200 mg of calcium per day, including daily use of multivitamins and minerals. Vitamin D takes in order to reduce the risk for age-related bone loss and fractures. For most of the nutrients, elderly people are same except for thiamine and riboflavin, which are expressed in the term of total caloric intake. Encourage to eat several small non-fatty meals, about 5 to 6 meals per day. These patterns appear to be associated with greater food variety and lower body fats and lower blood glucose level and lipid level especially, if larger meals are eaten in the day. Now there are about 6 ways to eat well as you get older. The 6 ways to eat well as you get older are that you must remain hydrated. You should consume about 8 glasses of water per day to remain your body hydrated. You should include complex carbohydrates in your diet so that there is no need for laxatives. You have to include lean protein in your diet so that the loss of lean mass in your body can be compensated. You must eat a well-balanced plate that include whole grain, beans, pulses, fruits and vegetables. And you must avoid the sugary and starchy food and the foods that contain saturated fat. Now I would like to conclude this lecture by telling you guys that what vulnerability is. Vulnerability, whether due to age, disability, gender, or severe psychological stress, is always an important issue for consideration in the provision of aid to emergency settlement communities. Good nutrition is critical to overall health and well-being vulnerable groups and are at risk of inadequate nutrition. The article in this special issue highlight the complexity and extent to which nutrition-related issues may impact vulnerable and marginalized groups. The impact of over and undernutrition is not specific to one group, so we must encourage these food vulnerable groups to take adequate diet and to maintain a healthy lifestyle to lead a well-balanced life. Thank you.